The sky was black, filled with smoke and falling ash. Once, this place was an alien city full of color, life, and laughter. Now, it was only broken walls, burned metal, and silence. In the middle of the wreckage, under a fallen building, a small, alien girl lay motionless. Her body was bruised and bleeding, her legs trapped under a heavy steel beam. She was no older than 10. Her skin was pale lavender, her hair short and tangled. Her eyes were open but dull. Her name was Sia. She had called for help until her voice broke. She had screamed when her leg broke under the rubble. But now there was only silence. She knew no one was coming for her. Her people had run when the bombs fell. They didn't look back, even her mother, especially her mother. She heard voices that weren't real anymore. "Stay here," her mother had shouted. "I'll come back," but she never did. Sia closed her eyes. She wanted it all to end. The pain, the fear, the waiting. She was just a useless child with broken legs and no future. She had been left to rot in the wreckage, but fate wasn't done with her yet. Far away, a human soldier walked through the ruins. His name was Sergeant Cole Maddox. He was tall, wearing dusty armor. With a blaster across his back, he moved slowly, carefully, scanning the remains for any signs of life. "Command," he said into his comm. "Found nothing so far," static answered him. Communication was weak in this zone. He wiped sweat from his face and was about to turn back, but then he heard it, just a small sound, like a whisper or a weak cough. Cole turned his head sharply. He stopped breathing for a second. Then he heard it again coming from under the rubble. He ran toward. The sound pushed metal aside and froze. There, beneath broken steel, was a tiny alien girl. Her face was dirty, her eyes half closed, but she was alive. "Hey," Cole whispered, kneeling down. "I see you, kid." He reached for his water bottle and lifted her head gently. "Drink this," he said. Sia blinked. Slowly, she had never seen a human this close before. They were the enemies, weren't they? Big, dangerous killers. But this one wasn't yelling. He wasn't hurting her. He gave her water. And she drank a little, coughing from the pain. "You're hurt," Cole said. Checking her leg, the injury was bad. He could tell her bones were broken. She wouldn't walk without help, maybe never again. He looked around. No medship, no rescue signal, nothing, just smoke and silence. He pressed the come again. "Found a survivor," he said. "Alien child, serious injury." No answer. He sighed, then looked at her again. "Your people left you here?" He asked. Sia didn't speak. She turned her face away, ashamed. Cole's jaw tightened. He had seen many things in this war, dead soldiers, burning ships, destroyed cities. But something about this small, abandoned girl made him angrier than all of it. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small pain patch. He stuck it gently near her neck. "You'll feel better soon," he said. Then, carefully, he started removing the metal that pinned her down. Sia cried out once, the pain too sharp. But she didn't fight. Finally, he lifted the last piece and pulled her into his arms. She was light, too light, like a child who hadn't eaten in days. He held her close and stood up. "I got you," he said. "You're not dying here." As he started walking, a drone flew past above. He ducked behind rubble, holding the girl tight. The drone scanned the area and flew away. Sia looked up at him. Her lips moved slowly. "Why?" she asked in a whisper. "Why help me?" Cole looked down at her. For a moment, he didn't speak. Then he said, "Because no one should be left behind." She stared at him, eyes wide. No one had ever said that to her. Not her mother, not her people. Only this human the war had taken. Everything from both of them. But in that moment, surrounded by ash and ruins, something new was born. Hope. And it was carried in the arms of a soldier. walking alone through fire and dust, carrying a broken alien girl who the world had thrown away. But not him, never him. The smoke was still thick in the air as Sergeant Cole moved through the ruins with the alien girl in his arms. Her skin felt too cold, her breathing slow and shaky. She had not spoken another word since asking him why he helped her, but Cole could feel the fear in her small body. The way her fingers curled into his armor, like she wanted to trust him but couldn't. He found a half-collapsed bunker and kicked the door open. Inside, it was dark and quiet, the kind of place forgotten during war. It was better than nothing. He laid her down gently on a dusty blanket he'd kept in his pack. She hissed in pain. Her injured leg still swollen, Cole sat beside her and opened his kit. "I need to fix your leg," he said softly. "It's broken in more than one place." He pulled out a bone fixer gel and pain block spray. The alien girl Sia stared at him with wide, golden eyes. She shook her head slowly. "Don't touch me," she whispered, voice trembling. "I'm not going to hurt you." Cole said calmly. "I'm trying to help you, Lai," she said, her small hands pulling away from him. "You're human." Cole paused, then placed the tools down. He didn't force her. He sat back and looked her in the eyes. "My name is Cole Maddox," he said. "Sergeant in the United Earth Forces. I'm not your enemy today." Sia said nothing. She looked away. But tears slid down her cheeks. "I was born a mistake," she muttered. "My kind believe. My blood is weak. My body is cursed. They left me because I'm not worth saving." Cole felt a sharp pain in his chest. He had seen many wounded soldiers, even children used as pawns in this long war. But this was different. This wasn't war damage. This was something deeper, something cruel from her own people. He didn't speak for a moment. Then he said, "Well, your people are idiots." Her eyes snapped toward him, surprised. "What?" "I said they're idiots," Cole repeated. "They left behind someone strong enough to survive explosions, fire, and days under rubble. That doesn't sound like a weakling to me." She stared at him, speechless. No one had ever spoken to her like that, not with anger for her sake, not with belief in her value. Cole picked up the bone fixer again. "Can I fix your leg now?" he asked. "I promise, I'll be gentle." Sia hesitated, then nodded slowly. He worked carefully, cleaning the wounds, applying the gel. Wrapping her leg in a support brace, she flinched and whimpered, but didn't pull away, not this time. Afterward, he gave her some dried food. It was human rations, bland and chewy. She sniffed it and looked unsure. "Not poison," Cole said with a smirk. She gave him a hard look, but took a bite. Then another, then another. Her stomach growled loudly. Cole laughed quietly. "You eat like a tiny wolf," he joked. She blushed, her face turning violet. But she didn't stop eating. Outside, the sun started to set. The red light poured through the cracks of the bunker. Cole checked his cum again. Still no signal, still no rescue. He looked at the girl, now half asleep. Her body curled up in the blanket, but one eye was still slightly open, watching him, waiting, testing. "I'll keep watch tonight," he said. "If anything comes near, I'll stop it, even if it's my kind." She asked suddenly. "Yes," Cole said without blinking. Even then, she didn't say anything after that, but her eye closed fully. For the first time since the bombing, she let herself sleep. Cole sat by the door, his rifle ready. He stared into the night, thinking of the girl behind him, so small, so unwanted. But something told him she would not be unwanted for long. The war may have made monsters out of many. But tonight, in a quiet bunker, one soldier made a choice to protect a child that wasn't his, to stay. When everyone else had left, he would not leave her. Not now, not ever. The air was hotter than ever. Trees crackled as fire moved through the jungle like a living beast. Smoke rose high into the red sky, darkening the daylight. Cole pulled the blanket tighter around Sia and held her close to his chest. Her leg was still healing, but they had to move. The enemy drones had scanned the area 3 times already. The bunker was no longer safe. Sia coughed quietly, her voice weak. "Where are we going?" "Out of here," Cole said firmly. "We'll reach the outer valley. There might be evac ships, or at least a signal tower." She didn't argue. She was too tired to argue now. Her small arms clung around his neck as he carried her through the ruins, then into the thick alien jungle. This jungle had once been beautiful, full of glowing plants and soft wind. Now it was full of smoke and flame. The war had poisoned everything. Cole used his knife to cut branches away. He moved slowly, one eye on the scanner clipped to his belt. 1 beep meant clear. 2 beeps meant enemy movement nearby. It beeped twice. Cole stopped, pressing his back to a large rock. He crouched and pulled Sia close behind it. She didn't scream, didn't cry. She had learned by now silence meant survival. A drone buzzed overhead, scanning the area. Cole held his breath, one hand gripping his rifle, the other holding Sia against his chest. The drone paused, its light blinking, then moved on. They waited for a full minute before moving again. The jungle was turning into ash with every step. Cole's boots were black with soot. His armor burned where fire had licked his side. Still, he didn't stop. Sia watched his face as he walked. His skin was scratched, his jaw tense, sweat ran down his neck. He looked like a soldier on the edge, but she had never felt safer than in his arms. "Why are you doing this?" she asked softly. "You don't even know me?" Cole didn't answer right away. Then he said, "You remind me of someone who—" "My little sister," he whispered. "She died during a bombing when I was young. No one helped her. I swore I'd never walk away from someone who needed saving again." Sia was quiet after that, her claws gently pressed in two. His armor, not out of fear but comfort, they reached a steep slope, and Cole had to climb while carrying her. The rock slid under his feet, and once he nearly fell, but he growled and pushed forward, refusing to stop. At the top, they saw it up, clearing with an old signal tower, half burned but still standing. Cole smiled. "We're close," he said, "real close." But hope didn't last long. Suddenly, the scanner beeped 3 times. Enemy forces moving fast. Cole's smile faded. He ducked behind a fallen tree and set Sia down gently. "Stay here," he said, handing her his backup knife. "Use it only if you must." Her eyes went wide. "You're not leaving me, are you?" "I'm just checking ahead," he said. "I'll be back." She nodded slowly. Gripping the knife tight, Cole disappeared into the trees. His rifle aimed forward, steps silent. Sia waited, heart pounding. Every sound made her flinch. Snap of a branch, the flap of wings, the hiss of burning leaves. Then she heard footsteps too heavy to be Cole. Too many. She tried to crawl backward, but her leg screamed in pain. She held the knife up, hands shaking, tears filled her eyes. Suddenly, a shadow jumped from the trees and Cole landed in front of her, firing his weapon. Red blasts lit the jungle as enemy scouts shouted and scattered. One tried to rush him, but Cole shot straight into the chest. Dropping him, he turned, scooped Sia into his arms, and ran. Bullets flew past them, hitting trees and rocks. Sia buried her face in his chest, trying not to scream. He slid down a hill, landed hard, rolled, and kept running. Finally, they reached the signal tower, and Cole slammed a button on the panel. The light blinked once, then twice, then green. A signal was sent. He turned and faced the jungle, gun raised, but the enemies didn't follow. They were gone for now. Cole dropped to his knees, panting hard. Sia sat in his lap, silent, her small hand on his chest. You came back, she whispered. I said I would, Cole said. I will never leave you. The fire behind them kept burning, but in this small clearing, it felt quiet. It felt safe for now, and for the first time, Sia leaned her head on his shoulder. Not because she was weak, but because she trusted him. She didn't know what would come next, but she knew one thing. This human would fight the fire, the enemies, and even death itself, just to keep her safe. The jungle was quiet now, but not peaceful. Smoke still drifted through the trees, and the air smelled like metal and burning roots. Sergeant Cole sat against a rock near the signal tower. Holding his rifle across his lap, Sia lay beside him. Wrapped in the old blanket again, her head resting on his arm. She hadn't spoken in hours. Not since the last firefight. Not since she almost lost him in the flames. Cole had checked the signal 3 times already, still no reply, but he kept hoping. They couldn't stay out here forever. A few insects buzzed nearby. Glowing blue and gold in the twilight. Alien creatures, but harmless. Sia watched them with quiet eyes. You? Okay. Cole asked softly. She didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, Why are you still here? Cole blinked. I told you, I'm not leaving. I know, she said. But you could, if you wanted. No one would stop you. He looked at her face. There was something in her voice, something deeper than fear. Do you want me to go? He asked, gently. No, she whispered fast. I don't understand. She pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. My people never looked at me like you do. Cole tilted his head. How do I look at you? Like I matter, she said, barely loud enough to hear. Like I'm not broken? Cole didn't speak for a moment. Then he said, Because you do matter. And you're not broken? Sia looked down at her injured leg. Her claws were shaky as she touched the brace. My father called me a design flaw. She said quietly. He said my blood was weak, that I was born wrong. Cole's hands tightened into fists. Why would he say that? My kind. We're raised for battle, she said. Fast, strong, sharp minds. I was always small, always slow. I got sick more than the others. They said I would never survive training, and when the war started, they left me behind. Cole leaned back against the rock, his chest heavy with anger he couldn't let show. Not at her, never at her. They told me I would never be a real warrior, Sia added, so they stopped calling me by name. He turned toward her. What did they call you then? Nothing, she said. Just that one. Or the mistake. Cole shook his head slowly. Then the real mistake. He said firmly, They couldn't see what you are. She looked up. At him, confused. And what am I? A fighter, he said. A survivor. A girl who didn't quit. Even after being left in the dirt to die, her eyes glistened, and she blinked fast to hide the tears. But one escaped anyway and slid down her cheek. Cole reached over and wiped it away with his thumb. You have a name, he said, and it's Sia. She let out a soft breath, like she'd been holding it in for years. I used to whisper it to myself when I was alone, she said, so I wouldn't forget. You never have to forget it again, Cole said, because I'll remember. It too. They sat in silence for a while, the firelight from the distant jungle glowing in the sky above them. Sia leaned closer into his side. I used to wonder what humans were really like, she said, back at the training center. We were told you were monsters. Cole gave a soft laugh. I've heard the same about your kind, he said. But monsters don't save kids. Sia gave the tiniest smile, just for a second. Then she grew quiet again. What happens if no one comes? She asked. Then we keep moving, Cole said. Find shelter, food, maybe even a compost. Further east, even if I slow you down. You're not slowing me down, he replied. You're keeping me going. Sia blinked in surprise. That was the first time anyone had said that to her ever. Night came fully now. Stars blinking through the smoke above. Strange birds. Called in the distance, Cole leaned his head back and sighed. "I had a dog once," he said out of nowhere. "She followed me everywhere, even when I got lost in the woods. What happened to her? She found me when I didn't know where I was anymore, just like I found you." Sia looked up at the stars. She wondered if maybe, just maybe, the stars had watched her whole life. Watched her suffering, watched her nearly die, and then sent someone who didn't care what blood ran through her veins. Someone who gave her back her name. Someone who made her believe she wasn't a mistake, not anymore. Morning came slow, gray, and cold. The sky was hidden behind thick clouds, and the jungle was silent. Too silent. Cole didn't like it. He crouched near the signal tower. Watching the treetops sway gently in the wind, Sia sat behind him, arms around her knees, still wrapped in the blanket she had slept for only a few hours. The rest of the time, she listened, waiting. She could feel it too. Something was wrong. "Do you hear that?" She whispered, "No birds." Cole replied, eyes narrowed, "No bugs." "No movement." Sia shivered. "I've heard stories about the fog," she said, "when it comes like this. Hunters follow." Cole raised his rifle and stood up. Slowly. "Not today," he said. "They won't touch you." They didn't have to wait long from the trees. Shadows moved. 6 tall alien figures, cloaked in black armor and breathing through sharp masks. Each one held a long weapon, part blade, part gun. They didn't shout. They didn't speak. They came like ghosts, fast and quiet. Sia gasped, backing away. "I know them," she whispered. "They're enforcers, my own kind." Cole stepped forward, placing himself between her and the incoming group. His rifle was up, locked, ready. The lead hunter raised a hand and spoke through a voice box that cracked like thunder. "You have something that belongs to us." "She's not a thing," Cole growled. "She's not yours." She is a broken defect," the enforcer replied. "She is property of the old bloodline and must be erased." "Come closer," Cole said coldly, "and I'll erase you without warning." One of the hunters charged. Blade drawn, Cole fired once, twice. The red beam blasting into the hunter's chest and throwing him back. The others spread out, circling. Cole grabbed Sia's arm. "Run," he said. She shook her head. "I can't." He looked into her eyes and saw it she didn't mean. Her leg, she meant she wouldn't leave him. He lifted her and sprinted toward the jungle. Blades flew past them, slicing branches, burning trees. One missed Cole's head by inches. Behind them, the hunters gave chase, moving like silent wolves. Cole ran downhill, heart pounding, lungs burning. He slid down into a muddy ravine and ducked behind thick roots. He placed Sia gently behind him, then aimed his rifle at the rising fog. One hunter jumped down the shot, took him in the shoulder. He didn't scream, didn't even flinch. They were trained to ignore pain. Cole reloaded. "Stay behind me," he told Sia. "Don't move." Another jumped. Cole rolled aside and slammed his elbow into its faceplate. The hunter staggered, and Cole fired at point-blank range. Another one down, but there were still 3 more. Sia crawled toward Cole, breathing hard. "Give me something," she said. "I won't just watch." Cole hesitated, then gave her a stun grenade. "Hold the side button and throw it far." One hunter appeared from the left. Sia did as told, throwing the device straight toward him. It exploded in a flash of blue light. The hunter froze and collapsed. Twitching, Cole turned to her with surprise. "You're full of surprises, kid." Another figure appeared from the fog, charging with both blades drawn. Cole blocked one with his arm, pain shooting through him. The second blade cut deep into his shoulder. He yelled, kicked the attacker back, and fired one last shot straight into its mask. Smoke and sparks burst from the faceplate as the hunter fell backwards. The last one dropped silently behind them, before Cole could turn. The hunter raised its weapon aimed straight at Sia. But Sia screamed and stabbed the stun rod into its leg. The charge lit up the hunter's body, and it collapsed, twitching violently on the ground, then silence again. Only the sound of heavy breathing, broken roots, and the faint beep of Cole's weapon cooling down. He fell to one knee, blood dripping from his arm. Sia crawled to him and grabbed his face. "You're bleeding," she said, panic in her voice. "I'm fine," Cole said through gritted teeth. "We made it." She looked at the bodies around. "Them, my kind, did this," she whispered. "They tried to end me." "No," Cole said. "They tried to end hope." Sia placed her hand on his chest. "Then you gave it back to me." He touched her forehead gently. "You're not a defect." He said, "You're a fighter." A soft beep echoed from his side. The CUM finally activated. Signal received. Help was coming, but Cole didn't smile. He just held her hand and whispered, "They won't take you. No one ever will." Asterisk, the signal light blinked green again. That meant someone had heard the call. Help was on the way, but Cole didn't feel relief. Not yet. He sat against a tree, blood dripping from his shoulder. His armor cracked and stained. Beside him, Sia held his hand tight, her small fingers trembling but strong. "You need rest," she whispered. "You're losing too much blood." "I'll rest when we're both safe," Cole said with a weak grin. His breathing was heavy, but his eyes stayed sharp. They had defeated the enforcers, but it didn't feel like victory. Because the jungle wasn't done with them, they heard it before they saw it, a low hum, growing louder. Not one ship, 3 dropships, dark and shaped like arrows, were descending from the sky. They weren't from Earth. They weren't from her people either. "Pirates, scavengers," Sia whispered. Eyes wide, they followed distress signals to steal and kill. Cole tried to stand, his legs shaking under him. He helped Sia up and pulled her close. "We need to move," he said. "We're not finished yet." They made it back to the clearing near the signal tower. Smoke still rose in thin trails. The enforcer bodies were gone, taken or burned. Cole loaded his last 2 grenades and tightened the bandage on his shoulder. His fingers shook, but his grip stayed firm. The first pirate ship landed, hissing steam and dirt into the air. The ramp opened, and figures stepped out tall, armored. Faces hidden, weapons ready. Sia gasped. "There are too many. I've seen worse odds," Cole said. He didn't mention that he'd barely survived those 2. He pushed her behind a large rock and knelt with his rifle raised. "I'll buy you time," he said. "When I say run, you run north toward the ridge. There should be a river beyond it. And what about you?" She asked, voice breaking. He didn't answer. Not right away. Then he said, "Just trust me." The pirates moved into the clearing, scanning. One of them saw the signal tower and raised a weapon. Cole fired first, taking out the lead man with one clean shot. Then the jungle exploded in light and sound. Blasts lit the trees, roots burned, and smoke rose like a storm. Sia covered her ears, heart racing. She wanted to run, wanted to obey, but her legs refused. Not because they were broken, but because she couldn't leave him. Cole fought like he was born for it, moving between cover, throwing a grenade, shooting, dodging, shouting. Every time they came closer, he pushed them back, but he was slowing down. One pirate shot him in the leg. He fell, rolled, fired back. Another rushed him. He stabbed it with his knife, the blade going deep. Then silence, 5 pirate bodies on the ground. 3 more ships still in the air. More were coming. Sia ran to him and grabbed his chest. "You can't fight them all," she cried. "You'll die." "I don't care," Cole said, his voice weak. "As long as you live." "No," she said, shaking her head. "Not like this." She stood up and shouted toward the sky, "This is Sia, daughter of the house of Rel, last of her name. If you kill him, you kill me. Her voice echoed across the trees. The pirate stopped, unsure. She stepped forward. Her body small, but her voice fierce. Come for me, and I'll burn your ship with my blood. Cole blinked in shock. He had never seen her like this, so brave, so loud, not a scared child anymore. A warrior. Suddenly, a loud roar split the sky. A fourth ship descended, but this one was different. Silver, with the mark of the Earth forces. Reinforcements, lasers blasted down from above, and Earth soldiers dropped into the trees. The pirates turned and scattered. Cole covered Sia with his body as blasts lit the sky. Within minutes, it was over. The pirates were gone. Cole lay still, barely breathing. Sia touched his face, crying now. You did it, she whispered. You saved me, he coughed, smiling. You saved me too. The medics rushed in, carrying Cole onto a stretcher. One soldier knelt beside Sia. Are you injured? No, she said, standing up tall. But he is. She walked beside the stretcher as they lifted him into the ship. She didn't let go of his hand, not even once. They had come through fire, fog, blades, and death, and they were still here, because even when the whole world had abandoned her, one human never did, and now she would never leave him. The white lights above were too bright. Sia squinted as she stepped into the human medical ship. Everything looked strange: clean walls, smooth floors, and people in white and gray uniforms. But she didn't care about any of it. All she cared about was the man lying in the bed, Sergeant Cole, pale and quiet, his arm hooked to wires and healing gel. Machines beeped softly beside him, showing he was still alive. Sia stood beside the bed, her small hand holding his. She didn't speak, she didn't cry, she just stayed. One of the human officers walked in, a tall woman with sharp eyes. She looked at the girl, then at Cole. You must be the alien child he refused to abandon, she said. Sia nodded slowly. His name is Cole, she whispered. He saved me. The officer stepped closer. I'm Captain Rena Price, she said. You're safe now. Sia looked down at Cole. But is he? He will be, Captain Price said. We've stopped the bleeding, sealed the wounds, but he's weak. It may take weeks before he wakes. Weeks, that word hit Sia like a weight. She had just found the one person who cared about her, and now he was slipping away in silence. The captain gently touched Sia's shoulder. You should rest, but Sia didn't move. I'll stay here, she said, if he wakes up. I want him to see me. The captain nodded and left. The next 3 days, Sia barely left Cole's side. She ate little, slept in a chair, and kept her hand in his. Sometimes she spoke softly to him, telling stories from her past. Sometimes she sat in silence, watching his chest rise and fall. On the 4th day, the ship reached the human base orbiting a green moon. Sia was escorted to the commander's office. She stood in front of a group of officers, humans in military coats. They looked at her with curiosity, some with sympathy, others with confusion. One of them asked, "What should we do with her?" Another replied, "She's not registered with any known species alliance. She's a war orphan." A third one said, "No documentation, no homeworld, no ID." Sia looked down, her hand shaking. She had faced blades and hunters and fire, but this room made her feel small again. Then the door opened. A new voice entered the room. "Then give her my name." It was Cole, weak, pale, leaning on a crutch but standing. "Alive?" Sia gasped, her eyes filling with tears. "You're awake?" He smiled at her, tired but warm. "Didn't I promise I wouldn't leave?" He looked at the officers. "This girl is under my protection," he said. "She stays with me." The room was silent. Then the commander nodded slowly. "So be it." They gave her new clothes, soft and clean. They gave her an ID badge, Sia. Maddox, under the guardianship of Sergeant Cole, she held it like it was a medal. Later, in Cole's recovery room, she sat beside him again. But this time, he was awake. They talked for hours about the jungle, the fire, the pirates, the silence. About how both of them had been alone for too long. "I thought I didn't matter," she said quietly. "My people called me a defect." Cole reached out and touched her shoulder. "Well, your people were wrong," he said. "You're brave, smart, stronger than most soldiers I've ever known." She smiled, and this time, it didn't fade. "I want to be like you," she said. "A protector. You already are." He replied, "You saved me back there." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Sia looked at him, her voice soft but sure. "Why did you really save me?" Cole looked at her, his eyes calm. "Because you were worth saving." No one had ever said that to her before. Not her teachers, not her family, not even herself. Only him, and somehow that one sentence rewrote her whole life. Months later, they returned to Earth. Sia walked beside Cole, now taller, healthier, stronger. She had joined the Human Defense Academy not as a soldier, but as a protector of the innocent, just like him, and wherever she went. When people asked her who she was, she said her name proudly. "My name is Sia Maddox, and someone once refused to leave me behind. So now, I never leave anyone behind either, because when no one else saw her worth, one human soldier did. And he was right all along. She was worth saving." The end.